I'm Francesca Amaker with breaking news. E! News has just learned that Queen Elizabeth has died at the age of 96 after 70 years on the throne. Concern over her health started this morning when the palace released a statement saying, following further evaluation, the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health and have recommended she remain under medical supervision. Now, we have learned that the Queen's immediate family rushed to be by her side. All four of her children were with her when she passed, and so was Prince William. Prince Charles is now the King of England. The family said the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. Now, on Tuesday, the Queen was photographed greeting the new Prime Minister at Balmoral. This was a first for the Queen, who traditionally does this at Buckingham Palace. Now, Queen Elizabeth leaves behind 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 12 great-grandchildren. In fact, her husband, Prince Philip, passed away last year at the age of 99. They were married 73 years. Now, I want to bring in Lonnie Love, who has been a Queen enthusiast for so long, as you've represented for her on Daily Pop. And Lonnie, this is quite a day in history.
Oh, we hate that this day has come. But the thing is that we have to realize that this was a woman who has served over 70 decades. 70. I mean, that 70 years, that is just awesome. There's now a procedure that is going to happen. We now have King Charles, because immediately after her death, he automatically becomes king. And he has already been taking over some duties, both him and Prince William. So they will be taking on all the duties now. And the next thing that is going to happen is her funeral service. So as a monarch, there will be a state-fund funeral service. You will also see world leaders giving their condolences. As of right now, at this time, we have not heard from the President of the United States. We have heard from our press secretary, Corinne Jean-Pierre, that she gave her condolences, but the president will be waiting for the president to do that. Right now, there are scores of people outside of Buckingham Palace that are in mourning, and we're all in mourning. If you notice, the BBC anchors are all in black. Everyone will be mourning this wonderful woman. And it's a day that we knew was coming, but it still hurts.
Yeah, and I just want to remind our viewers that, just as you mentioned, we began to hear about the downfall of her health just last year.
Yes.
I believe it was October when we learned that she was having these episodic mobility issues, and she was, having that cane a little bit more, leaning on it a little bit more, and having difficulty. And we should also reiterate that Buckingham Palace never really comes out.
Never. No,
about
because
health, right?
It's about protocol. And the one thing that this monarch was about, Queen Elizabeth, she was about protocol, and she was about service. Since she was 25 years old, when her father unexpectedly passed, she vowed to give service to the United Kingdom and 14 other countries. And you have to remember, she was ruling at a time when women really were still fighting.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine what she had to do with Winston Churchill, the conversations that she had to have with certain world leaders, and to be respected? And whether you are a Queen enthusiast or not, you have to give it up to her about her service and her dedication to making sure that a nation was seen through wars, was seen through other tragedies. And she served it, and she served it well. And even with everything that's going on, she still had to deal with her own family issues, which she did with style and she did with grace.
You speak about this, the representation of longevity. She stands for mobility and stability for not only the Commonwealth, but America. In fact, just after her passing, Lonnie, we got a chance to speak with a correspondent who was over in London, and his name is Jonathan Sarkodati, and he spoke to us a little bit more about the protocol following the Queen's passing. Jonathan, it's just been announced that Queen Elizabeth has just passed away. What is the tone, not only in London, but worldwide right now?
There are crowds outside Buckingham Palace already. People have been gathering all day knowing that this sad news was likely to be announced. And I think that no matter how well people prepare, whether it's in terms of the civil service and the government preparing for the state funeral, whether it's the family preparing, knowing that she was unwell as they gathered in Balmoral to be with her, nothing can really prepare you for the death of a loved one. But all the more so when it is somebody like Her Majesty the Queen, such a historic figure, somebody who has spanned the decades and represented the true spirit of what it is to be dutiful and to give service to the nation for all those years.
The longest reigning monarch in history. She represented stability, longevity. What do you think her passing means to the royal family that has faced multiple controversies as of recent?
I think that this is a moment when people will look at all the things that were best about Queen Elizabeth and the contribution that she made to the monarchy, to the royal family, to Great Britain. I think that people will put some of the controversies behind them for now at least, and just remember the enormous service she gave, the importance of her role, and just what a spectacular job she did of encapsulating what it means to be British.
I imagine there are so many protocols set in place as well.
There are protocols set in place. We'll see a very big state funeral taking place, something the likes of which we've never seen. And I think that there will be a lot of respect and love shown for Queen Elizabeth. While we knew that she was old, we knew that she had some health issues, we didn't know when this would happen. And I think that now it has. There'll be a massive outpouring of grief. There will be a display of that sadness and emotion around the whole world, but especially here in London, where people really looked at her not just as the head of state, not as just the mother of the nation, but even the grandmother of the nation, and she'll be really very sorely missed.
Prince Charles now taking over. What does this mean for him and his constituents?
Prince Charles, of course, will be grieving the death of his mother. He himself is in his 70s. Of course, he is now King Charles, and that will usually be declared the next day, tomorrow. But there is never not someone in charge. He is now going to take over as the monarch, a day that he has waited a long time for, but he's always said he knew would involve great sadness when it did arrive, because it would mean that his mother had passed. I think that we will be looking carefully to see how he's learnt from her, and the example that she set will be one he'll hope to continue, I think, during his reign.
And Lonnie, Jonathan goes on to say that in the coming days, he's going to be taking to his people and kind of doing this tour, if you will, to not only reassure, but to let them know that he's there with them. He supports them just as his mother vowed to do for so many years.
Well, that's the right thing for him to do. He has to, like you say, do a grieving tour. Because, look, the nation is going to be grieving. But not only the nation, but also the other countries, the other 14 countries that she serves, and so many people around the world that have looked up to her. So the new prime minister right now is speaking, and let's listen in.
Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her. She ascended the throne just after the Second World War. She championed the development of the Commonwealth from a small group of 7 countries to a family of 56 nations, spanning every continent of the world. We are now a modern, thriving, dynamic nation. Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure. She has been our longest ever reigning monarch. It's an extraordinary achievement to have presided with such dignity and grace for 70 years. Her life of service stretched beyond most of our living memories. In return, she was loved and admired by the people in the United Kingdom and all around the world. She has been a personal inspiration to me and to many Britons. Her devotion to duty is an example to us all. Earlier this week, at 96, she remained determined to carry out her duties as she appointed me as her 15th Prime Minister. Throughout her life, she's visited more than 100 countries, and she has touched the lives of millions around the world. In the difficult days ahead, we will come together with our friends across the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth, and the world to celebrate her extraordinary lifetime of service. It is a day of great loss, but Queen Elizabeth II leaves a great legacy. Today, the crown passes, as it has done for more than 1,000 years, to our new monarch, our new head of state, His Majesty, King Charles III. With the King's family, we mourn the loss of his mother, and as we mourn, we must come together as a people to support him, to help him bear the awesome responsibility that he now carries for us all. We offer him our loyalty and devotion, just as his mother devoted so much to so many for so long. And with the passing of the second Elizabethan age, we usher in a new era in the magnificent history of our great country, exactly as Her Majesty would have wished, by saying the words, "God save the King."
Wow. Yeah. King Charles is now reigning.
Yeah. And I want to highlight, Lonnie, did you hear how she spoke about her work ethic? Do you realize that Queen Elizabeth was just working on Tuesday when she ushered in and welcomed that woman speaking, who was the Prime Minister, Liz Truss of the UK? Yes. She was just working, and she would have been working yesterday with a Zoom meeting, but she wasn't feeling well.
Yes.
But she was working 48 hours before her passing.
Well, she was working that whole Tuesday. That's the thing that people have to realize. That is just an example of her long life of service, that she wanted to make sure that she brought in the new Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister actually drove all the way to Scotland, 500 miles from London, to get her blessing. And this is just another example of, up until the end, the service that this wonderful woman has given. As you see, we're looking at the flags. They will be flown at half-staff. That's the London Bridge, and her code is London Bridge. And when you hear the words London Bridge is down, that means that she passed, and London Bridge right now is down. I know this is a sad time, but I think right now we need to celebrate this wonderful woman, everything that she stood for. We need to highlight her, and she will never be forgotten. But I want to make this moment about her. I mean, we have King Charles and the Queen Consort, and they're working that out. Let's deal with the fact that we're going to celebrate her, that she's going to have this wonderful service, that there are going to be so many heads of state and people to come and celebrate the years. Because, as Black folks, when a person goes, we call it a homegoing.
That's right.
And we celebrate
Celebration.
them. And it's so much that she's done that. It's like, that's why I've always admired her. And she's been a personal inspiration to me.
And for so many people, she's 96 years old, so she has outlived so many folks, right?
Oh, yeah.
But today, there are little girls who may not even remember, her at all, but they're going to get their children these dolls that are Queen Elizabeth II. They're going to be reading about her in textbooks if they haven't already. And keep in mind, and you and I share this anecdote where we just love, when she was 21 years old, she traveled to South Africa and made that speech, made that vow to the people of the Commonwealth and people worldwide, saying that I vow to be by your side. I vow to serve you until I can't serve you anymore. And she served.
She did it all the way. I do hope that with all that's going on in the royal family, that there is some type of family unity because of this.
Excellent point. I actually asked Jonathan Sarkady, the expert with the royal family, about this, and without, of course, keeping it respectful, because this is about her passing, this is about celebrating her life. But he said, right now, of course, there's a sense of grief in the air outside the Commonwealth and the Buckingham Palace. But he assured me that at this point, she also represents unity for that family. Yes. She represents unity despite what has gone on, what is going on. And I think we'll see even more of that as she is laid to rest in the next few days.
And I'm really not surprised, Francesca, about her passing so soon after her husband. I mean, her and her husband were together for so long, and he passed last year. And usually when couples are together, as long as she and Prince Philip were, that, you know, you notice that the other one will go. And of course, we have this whole issue with, you know, Prince Philip, not Prince Philip, but Prince Harry and Meghan. I'm just hoping that everybody can come together because, you know, right now, their family needs to be proud and they need to celebrate her and honor her. And it's funny because now we have King Charles and we have the Queen Consort. And people are asking what's the difference with Camilla being named Queen Consort. Well, she has the same title as Charles, except the consort part makes it a huge difference. She is not over the military. She doesn't have certain duties, and so that's why you have Queen Consort. So what'll happen next is that we'll have the state funeral, then we will have some sort of ceremony for King Charles to bring him in. And, you know, and then you have Prince William, who is now next in line after that. Then you have Prince George, and then you have the other children, Charlotte, who, because she is, the nice thing that the Queen made sure was that because Charlotte is female, she could still stay in line as possible queen, as heir to the throne. So then there is Prince Louis, and then there is Prince Harry. So that is now the lineage to king or queen. And I'm so happy that, you know, Queen Elizabeth made sure that Princess Charlotte could still stay in line as heir to the throne, because I think that is important, especially in modern times. And this is just another example of how she was a modern queen and she went with the times when certain things were happening, like when Prince Charles wanted to marry Camilla, you know, she gave her blessing for that. When Prince Harry wanted to marry a divorcee, I mean, normally that does not happen. You know, the Queen gave her blessing. So with her family, she tried her best to, you know, keep with modern times and stay modern. And that's another reason why, you know, we really have to admire her, because she stayed in with the times.
She was worldly, and she was and modern as well. Like I love those examples that you put out there. And as you mentioned earlier in our broadcast, Prince Charles is now become King Charles. And in fact, Lonnie, he just released this statement. It's an official statement, a statement from His Majesty. The King reads, "The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty, the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all members of my family. We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother. I know her loss will be deeply felt throughout the country, the realms, and the Commonwealth, and by countless people all around the world."
You know, Francesca, for a long time, the people thought that Queen Elizabeth would give the reins to Charles early while she was still living. But another example of her service is that she did not believe in that tradition. It's that when she passed, that he would get the reins, and we see that came to be. So Charles has been Prince for a long time, and now he's King Charles.
He's now in his 70s, good health. So 30 more years with him as king, right?
Yeah.
I also want to point out that he mentioned his mother being worldly. She's the only queen who, or the longest running monarch, but she's the only one who has gone to over 100 countries.
Yes.
Just to showcase and to be with the people. She didn't just talk about it from her throne. She was about it. She made sure that she was in the people's face. She made sure that she saw those stories and touched the people literally and physically. And before we wrap, I just want to go ahead and show our viewers the last photo that she took. And this is a photo that many people are talking about. It's a twinkle in her eye as she's shaking the hand of Prime Minister Liz Truss. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up for you all right here, and you'll see that gleaming smile. Though she's frail, 96 years old, but this photo was taken just 48 hours before her passing. And look at her, she is still working.
Still working and still beloved, and will always be beloved. We want to give our condolences again to the people of the UK and all of her subjects. And thank you so much for letting me sit here with you. And it's going to be some time.
Lonnie, I know that she meant a lot to you. And I know that today is not easy for you and so many around the world. But I think the biggest thing to remember here is that the best way that you can nod and give that nod to Queen Elizabeth is to enact who she is, embody who she is. Before we wrap, Jonathan Sarkady said one of her phrases was, "You don't explain and you don't complain." Didn't know that until today.
Yeah.
Don't explain and don't complain. And she never complained. So with that being said, we are praying for all of those affected. Today's a very heavy day for us at E! News. Lonnie, thank you for sharing your insight and your passion on Queen Elizabeth II. And remember, for all the latest developments, just head to E! Online. Thank you for joining us.